The Midnight Beta has now officially begun, and something that a lot of players have been anxiously anticipating is the new playable race, the Haranir. As a Druid main myself, I've been very excited to see the Haranir in action and to probably race change my Druid to it pretty early on. I'm always excited about any races that can play as Druids. I'm always excited to see their new Druid forms, casting animations, and all that kind of stuff. So today we are jumping into the Midnight Beta and looking through all of the character customizations available for the Haranir. We'll take a little look at their racials and their lore and everything, and we will also look at their Druid forms. So as with most of the new races that get added into World of Warcraft nowadays, you can choose with the Haranir whether to be Alliance or Horde, and you do choose that from the get-go. There's no gameplay aspect where you start as a neutral faction like the Pandaren can do, for example. You just, from the get-go, choose Alliance or Horde, and then when you first start to play the Haranir, you'll be in their kind of Haranir exclusive starting area. You do a couple of quests, and the story basically leads you to go and join the faction that you already determined in character customization. As for their kind of racial summary, it says, ferocious, watchful guardians, the Haranir keep an ever-present vigil over the wild domains of their long-absent goddess in hopes that she may one day return. Now, I'm not really a lore person personally. I do find it interesting, but I'm just not very well-rounded in that area. What I think it's referring to in terms of the long-absent goddess is Azeroth itself as the world soul, because Harandar, their kind of home world, is or was the cradle where the Azeroth world soul was kind of placed. And then now, Harandar is kind of the home where all the roots of every world tree converge. So I think it's referring to Azeroth, which could be interesting for the story of Midnight and onwards. But if you're a lore person, be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. So we're going to start off. The game gave us the second body type 2. So let's just start there. The first option, as with most races, is to choose a skin color. And Haranir are kind of like a midpoint between trolls and night elves. So a lot of the complexions kind of pull from either or both of those races. So there's lots of kind of blues and greens, and then you have more neutral kind of yellows. And then we've even got some red skin tones, which is really, really cool. You then can choose a face. And again, number 1 is kind of like the default kind of standard face. There's nothing terribly outstanding about it. It's just very neutral. But there are a good few options. There are 9 for the body type 2, each kind of changing the kind of angles of the face and the shading. Some of them kind of have slightly rounder features. This one has freckles, looks a little bit softer. Then there's ones with more aged skin, for example, a little blemishes, which I think is a nice balance. And then we've got some severely dark eyes. I do sadly relate. And then again, the final option just has some little skin blemishes and freckles. Okay, moving on to hair, you can be bald. Usually the first option for a lot of races is the bald option, which again, blank canvas. I think a lot of people are going to be very happy with a lot of the customization options for the Haranir. This one starting out is like long flowing hair, kind of swoops over one shoulder. We then have some braided hair called Balance, and it's kind of a half up, half down. Sprout is a slightly shorter, almost pixie cut with some spikiness going on. And then Haranir also get almost like afro textured hair. This one's called Moss, which I think is really nice. Gives some nice representation, and get to play around with different textures and stuff, which is really interesting. Again, we have a slightly shorter hair here, maybe almost on the edge of like dreadlocks or cornrows, for example. And then again, this one's probably the most abstract structural hair. This one's called Spore, which to be fair is representative of what this is because there's just hair growing out in little spores in all sorts of directions. And again, using that afro texture. Wilted is another slightly longer haircut with sort of different layered pieces into it and some skinny little braids on the side. Flora actually has a irremovable headdress in it. There's this vine with some leaves circling around the head. And again, using that afro texture just in a slightly shorter haircut. This is one of my favorites. This is called Overgrowth, and it kind of combines a couple of different things. So you've got some braided hair on the actual scalp that then blends into very long, thick hair, and then a hidden long braid flowing all the way down one shoulder, and then a little bit of a side part and some volume in the front. I think this one is really, really pretty, and I'm sure it's going to be a very popular choice. Next is Vines. I really like this one too. I just love how much volume they've given to the hair options for the Haranir. I like the dreadlocks of this. Again, I like the face framing. She's got the, a little bit like me, I guess, like the shorter pieces in the front that just soften the face. And then, yeah, just a huge, huge ponytail out the back, which I think is really, really satisfying. I think this one is going to be a real favorite. This is very similar to the Night Elf hairstyle that has the one really long braid coming down. But this one's actually even longer, if I'm not mistaken. It comes all the way down, basically past the hips. I'm definitely going to be using this one as well. This one is interesting because it's not technically hair. This is called Spinehawk, and a recurring feature for the Haranir, as we'll see later on, is spines. They almost look like porcupine spines. So you can have that as a hair option if you weren't actually wanting to use physical hair. And it comes in a really cool mohawk, which is a pretty interesting and cool style. I actually really like this. I don't tend to go for hairstyles like this, but I think it could be really cool. Commune actually has some bone features in it, so there's almost like a spine structure holding the ponytail, and then some braided pieces on the side. Abundant again has some floral aspects to it that I don't believe you can remove. I think you can change the color of the accessory. This one has the hair accessory with slightly longer and more bouffant kind of hair. I think this one's really pretty. Next is Petals. Again, very much pixie cut here, shorter, but with some face framing and a fringe and everything. This one almost feels a little bit anime inspired, personally. Bundled, I think this one is really, really fun. This is just obnoxious, and I think it's hilarious. I'm sure a lot of people are going to quite enjoy this, and I think from head on, it actually looks really nice. Blooming is a slightly more tame version of what we just saw. So you do still have the high pigtails, very bushy, but it's all just a little bit softer and maybe a bit more controlled. And that is actually all of the hairstyles for body type 2. We have 18 in total. But now let's go for Abundant that has the hair accessory, and we can check back in later and see if it changes color. As for the hair colors, there are a lot. There are many, many shades of greens and blues and purples. There are some reds in there and even some lighter colors too. I won't sit and go through absolutely all of them, but you can just have a quick preview of how some of them look. There's even a ginger one, which is very interesting. Now, one thing that is currently broken on the beta is this hair highlight option. There are lots of options, but currently if you choose one, it just creates this kind of slightly visual bug in the overlay. So you can't really see at all what the hair highlight is. And it doesn't matter which one you choose, they all do the same thing. So sadly, we can't preview this yet. Moving on to the eyebrows. A little bit similar to the Night Elves here, I would say. You can choose quite a few different options. So the default is kind of clean, and then there's low eyebrows, medium eyebrows, high eyebrows. Most of those were quite thick. And then we have partial eyebrows, so you can have much smaller ones. Straight eyebrows, bushy, thorns, which are actually quite cool. They almost look like lightning strikes. Reach, which I think is quite nice. They're very elevated. Then there's branch, swept, and more spine. So you could maybe link that up with the mohawk hairstyle that we saw. Long spines and sparse. I think my favorite of those ones was probably Reach. I liked the elevated look. They do then have quite a handful of eye color options too. Again, very much Night Elf-esque. The greens, the purples, the oranges. I think for a little bit of contrast here, I might go for maybe like a light orange. Maybe this one is quite nice and warm. Moving on to the next section, we can, as with every race, you can choose the level of eyesight. You can take away all eyesight, or you could have eyesight in just one of the two eyes. Now, Haranir also get to have eyelashes, which I think is really fun, and I was not expecting that personally. But the first one is very much the lash you would put on in real life, a top lash, and then they have some crazy options further down. So we get a bottom lash with a top lash here, and they're quite vivid. I quite like this one with almost the long drooped lash on the outer corner. This one almost makes the eyes have a slightly rounded illusion to them as opposed to very uplifted. We have some spore-looking lashes, which definitely would fit if you linked it up with a certain hairstyle, for example. And then more pointy, sharp eyelashes, which I'm also a big fan of. And then lastly, these very dramatic, almost Trixie Mattel-esque lashes going on here. You can later on opt to put hair spines in the hair. And again, depending on the hairstyle you choose, it will put the spines in a different place. So you can see as you scroll through different hairstyles, the spines kind of get dispersed throughout the hair depending on which one you choose. And then again, you can change the color of your spines. Plenty of options to choose from that all kind of complement the complexion colors and the hair colors. Now, Haranir can also have fur on their faces, and that's regardless of which body type you choose. So there are only a few options, but they kind of just add some little facial hair aspects to your character of varying degrees. So some of them are quite abundant, and some of them are a little bit more subtle. You can choose whether to have a wide or thin nose. It is just the two options for body type 2 at least. I think for this character, we'll go with thin. Tusks, now we're pulling from trolls. You can have small, medium, or large. As for ears, there are quite a few options. It starts out with small, and then you can do droopy, which honestly kind of reminds me of Dobby. Medium, large, long, sharp, straight, acuminate, curled, and folded. Haranir can then have earrings. So fangs are almost like bones. They can have thorns, claws, which kind of are just on the, what would you call that? The helix, the tip of the ears. And spikes, which again is the same sort of mesh as the thorns, very plant inspired, I suppose I would call it. Moving on to jewelry color, this is what will change the color of any hair accessories that come with any of the hairstyles. So there's 5 options. There's kind of a red autumnal one, yellow leaves, green leaves, bluey green leaves, and deep purple, which I think is really pretty. Haranir can also get necklaces. And again, these are very just natural. They're not actual kind of metallic. They're all very plant-based, very wooden. In fact, all of them are. So they kind of just look like vines or branches. We can also add face paint on top of the facial hair. And some of them do kind of tie in nicely. So they almost connect up with the facial hair. And you can make some really cool patterns with them. Here is a look at those. I think we'll go with glow because it almost looks like it feeds into the facial hair. Along with the face paint, you can then get body paint, and you can change the face and body paint together. So the body paint options are roots, bark, and channel. I quite like channel with the swirling lines, or you can opt to have none at all. We'll go with channel, I think. I feel like it fits quite nicely. And then as for paint colors, you have an orange, a yellow, a blue, green, and a red. Now, I actually feel like these don't super work for this character, but I think we're going to use them anyway. Maybe we'll go with the green just for a little bit of contrast. Now we can start playing with more spines, those kind of spiny porcupine-looking features. And Haranir can have these on their shoulders. So you can have them on both sides or just on one. You can then change the shoulder spine color independently of the spines that are in the hair. So you can get a little bit creative with that if you want to. I'm going to just keep it the same as the previous one. Then you can look at adding fur to the body, so some body hair features. We have sprawling, canopy, blooming, and undergrowth. So again, there's variations in just how much body hair there is, and you can go from absolutely nothing to very thick hair. You can then change the color of the fur on the body. Again, there are lots and lots of options, very complementary to the complexion colors we have already. And I think I'm going to tie this into the hair color that we've got on the head. The next feature are the feet. Now, you can have normal feet, as it's listed here, very humanoid feet with 5 toes. Or you can have clawed feet with 4 toes on the front and 1 little knuckle with a nail on the back, which again does harken back to the trolls, I must say. And then this is interesting. You can choose whether or not to have an undercloth top. So by default, they have this almost canopy bralette thing that's just kind of made of leaves and vines, but then you can also opt to put almost something man-made over the top. And then it ties into the loincloth in the bottom. And you can customize that color too. There aren't too many options for this. There's a purple one, a blue type one, a green. This is actually kind of very dark navy or black with some yellow tints, and then red. I honestly really like this darker one with the yellow accents. So that's all of the customization for the body type 2. Now we'll look over all of the options for body type 1. Okay, so we're on to body type number 1, and I have set this character all the way back to their defaults. Every setting is at number 1. So again, we have a blank canvas to start with. I think the complexion colors are all the same, regardless of which body type you choose. So again, we're very much dipping into the blues, into the greens, a mixture of the two, and then the yellows and the reds. Maybe for this one, we'll do some reddish undertones. The first character was very much on the cooler tone, so we'll maybe go warmer this time. I've also made this character a druid so that once we've made it, we can go into the game and look at the druid forms and everything as well. Onto the faces. Number 1 is quite neutral. Number 2 has more kind of aged features. Number 3 is very, very young, very youthful. This one has some more kind of high cheekbones, a slightly flatter face, a slightly more pointed face. Again, another aged face. And the last one. The first hair option is bald. Then we can do tendril, which is another kind of side braid with a little fringe action. Abundant, again, half up, half down. I love this one. Flourish is another kind of mohawk style, and it actually has some little cornrow features as well. Balance, ooh, this one's going to be a big favorite. This has some dreadlocks and some braids. And again, just, I mean, look at that ponytail. It's enormous. Petals is almost like a buzz cut. Spore, so actually the spore haircut is genderless, so to speak. So you have it in option 1 and option 2, which is interesting. I don't know if we have that with other races. And then barbed, this one actually has spikes coming out of the head and poking through the hair, which is really interesting. Moss. Okay, so we are seeing the recurring feature of hairstyles available to both body types, which is really, really cool. I like that a lot. Commune was the same name as the previous body type's hair. This one has braided hair, again, with the features of the bones throughout the hair. That's really, really pretty. I like that. Overgrowth. Ooh, so, so nice. So this is actually the mirrored version of body type 2. Wilted, another short hairstyle with actual shaved head on one side. Vines, really nice basic ponytail. Bundled, ooh. This has a headband in it, which I've never seen before. Gathered, and then blades, and lastly, rootways. The hair colors, again, 30 options, so they'll definitely be the same as body type 2. Okay, I've actually decided to give this character the slightly lighter, almost gingery hair, just for a little bit of a change. Now, the hair highlight option is actually working for this body type, as it wasn't for body type 2. So now we can actually see a preview of the highlights. And as suspected, it just means that you have an additional color running through the hair, and you can completely customize that and make it something similar to the original hair color or something completely different. Maybe we'll just go with the first option, slightly gray. Their eyebrows can be clean or low, medium, high, partial, straight, bushy, thorns, reach, branch, swept, short spines, long spines, and sparse. And then eye color. We have blue, orange, yellow, looks like a teal turquoise, purple, dark blue, dark orange, almost amber color, silvery green, almost jade maybe. And then there's golden, but with the whites of the eyes are black instead. And then another blue and a red and a purple. Maybe purple suits this character quite nicely, actually. Again, we can do eyesight in both eyes, neither, or one of the two. Body type 1 can also have a wide or a thin nose, and it also seems to very slightly change the chin, if you can see that. When I change between the two noses, it also changes how much the chin juts out, I'm noticing. Tusks can be small, medium, or large. Maybe this character has small tusks. Their face paint, growth, channel, bark, roots, and glow. I think these are slightly different from body type 2. Body type 1 can then have a moustache. And again, you have a mixture of hair or hair and spines, or just spines, or nothing at all. I honestly think maybe we'll use some spines now for a change. And then you can also add a beard if you want to. So there's growth, bloom, brush, pruned, spines, knot, and tendrils. They actually have a braided goatee, which honestly matches the hair that we're rocking here as well, to be honest. You can then add sideburns, so you can really, really customize how much facial hair is going on with your character. There is wild, full, cheek, low, neat, knots, spines, and sparse. So very, very customizable. There's lots that you can do here. You can then add spines into the hair if you would like to, which honestly, given that we've got spines on the face, maybe we'll add those too. And then they can also have fur on their face independently of the facial hair. So this is hair that's kind of 2D and flat to the face, the same that we saw in body type 2. The ears can be small or droopy, medium, large, long, sharp, straight, acuminate, curled, and folded. They can also wear earrings. They seem to have the same options. So for this one, let's go with spikes, something a little bit toned down. They can also wear necklaces. They have ivy, thorns, and teeth and claws. So slightly more different options from the previous. We can go with a necklace on this occasion because we didn't wear one the first time around. Now we can change the color of the accessories, which in this occasion also changes the hairband color in the hair, which is a really nice touch. I'm going to go with purple to maybe tie in the eyes a little bit. And then we move on to kind of the body. So again, we can have spines on both shoulders, neither or one of the two. And then I'm going to make these spines probably a red color. Body paint is channel, roots, and bark. Oh, I like bark. Almost look like tattoos. And the paint color is the same as before. And it does change the face paint as well. They can then also have the same body hair options, or fur, I should say. They have sprawling, canopy, undergrowth, and blooming. I think I'm going to go with canopy. Oh, it's all down the back. I didn't notice that. Amazing. I'm going to give this character normal feet, I think. No, I'll do the clawed feet. I think it actually suits quite well, as much as they make me uncomfortable. And then you can change the loincloth color as well. So those are all of the character customization options for body type 1 and body type 2. Let's now jump into the game on our Druid and we'll look at the new Haranir Druid Forms. Okay, so for the Druid Forms, let's start with the Bear form, which for Haranir is the Pangolin. This is actually a brand new model, I believe. It's not modeled after something that already exists in the game. They've created something brand new just for the Haranir, which is the Pangolin. So you can customize their ears, nose, and their fur color. So for the ears, you can have small, medium, or large, almost kind of looking like a bat in a way. For the nose, you can have it at a point or upturned, like a pig snout. And then the fur color can be kind of a light beigey cream, a darker blue with purple, red with browns, and then a dark purple with green, and lastly a dark green with some red. So there are some really nice contrasting colors and some good options in there. Moving on to the cat form, Haranir get the Wolverine, which again is a brand new model, and I think mostly across the board, almost all of the Druid forms for the Haranir are brand new. I think there is maybe one duplicate, which we will look at in just a moment. But for the cat form, the Wolverine is brand new, I think. Probably slightly smaller than the regular cat form, I would say. It feels maybe a bit more stocky. The previous cat forms have always felt quite lean and slender, whereas this one feels a bit more burly. But again, you can customize in the same way, ever so slightly different it seems. So the ears can be small, something called out or upturned. The nose can then be a stub or pointed. And the fur color, again, we have the same options. So the purple, the red, the deep purple, and the dark blue. Now, I think the Moonkin form is where we have a duplication, because I think this model is copied from the Arakoa from Spires of Iraq in Warlords of Draenor, for example, with the twitching head and everything. And I think the casting animations might be the same as well, but we've never seen this used in a Moonkin form before, so it is very, very exciting. And they have obviously changed how it looks to make it customizable to the Haranir. I love how dinky it is. All the previous Moonkins have been very, very wide, very big. This one feels very slender and almost a little bit short, which I think is adorable. I'm a Moonkin main myself, so I'm actually quite excited to try out a new Moonkin form. This is called the Bat Bear, and you can change the feather or fur color from the tan, blue, dark red, purple, and the green. This one looks like an evil Moonkin with the red eyes. That's really cool. And then you can change their ears from long, uplifted, and short. And their brows can be long or bushy. Their flight form is the Haranir Bat. Again, you can customize the ears from uplifted, out, and short. I like the huge ears. Very, very bat-like. The nose can again be a stub or it can be prominent. That is very prominent. It's like vertical. And then you can change fur color again. So all of the fur color options are the same, and the nose and the ears across all forms are pretty similar as well, I must say. This one is going to be a big favorite. This is the aquatic form, and Haranir get to be an axolotl. Probably the most unique one we've got so far. They can have their gills customized, so you can have none at all and almost have a bald axolotl. They can have bladed gills, frilled gills, or leafy ones. They can also have tusks from straight or curved. They can have brows, which are either a tri-brow or none at all. So they are brows, but they're just leaves, basically, almost looking like, but almost like extra gills or fins, I suppose. And then their scale color can be this golden color with some red, a green undertone with some purple, a deeper red, a deeper purple, and then the green with the red. And then lastly, this is controversial. The travel form is my favorite. This thing is so adorable. This is a sable. Now, I quite like using the glyph of the stag form for druids because it means when you're in travel form, someone in your party or raid can ride on your back. Obviously, that's not possible with a tiny little sable, but I'm willing to give that up because this is so sweet. It's so dinky, it's a brand new model, and it's just like a little puppy, and I think it's so cute. Again, you can customize the ears. They can be small, medium, or large, and the large ones even have upturned ears, which I think is really cute. The nose can be standard or pointy. You can see a bit better from the side. And again, the fur color will be the same customization option. So you can have a darker one, a red one, a purple one, or a green and red one. I'm a big fan of this dark red one, but honestly for now I'm probably going to use the default one because it reminds me of my dog. The last thing we're going to look at are the Haranir racials. Starting off with the passives, they have something called Lash Out, which increases their crit strike for their damage and their healing by 1%. They have a profession bonus called One with Nature, which increases their herbalism skill by 5 and increases their finesse by 10. They also have an experience bonus passive, which is called Subterranean Predator. This increases experience gains from killing aberrations, beasts, and elementals by 10%, and also damage dealt to those creatures is also increased by 1%. They then have an active racial, so a spell you can actually click in-game called Thorn Bloom, which commands powerful thorns to assault 8 enemies and heal 8 allies within 10 yards of the targeted area. So you can click the Thorn Bloom and it gives you this little reticle on the ground, and if you have allies inside it, it will heal them, and if you have enemies inside it, it will damage them. So if we use it now, we get a 11-second buff that is just healing us over time, and on the contrary, the enemies are getting a dot. The last of the Haranir racials is called Root Walking, which is actually a teleport. If you click it, it essentially makes your Haranir do their racial dance, surrounded by a bunch of vines and everything. And this will teleport you to the Cradle, which is actually in Harandar, the new zone, which is where this race originates. The tooltip of the ability also says that it can teleport you to the root of any world tree, which is actually the exact same as the Druid Dreamwalking ability from the Legion class Order Hall, if you're familiar with that. I'm interested to see if there are any big differences. The main thing I can notice already, just from getting familiar with it right now, is that when you use the root walking ability, so the Haranir specific one, you get a return button as well. So when you click it the first time, it teleports you to the Cradle, which is this new zone here. But then once you're there, you can actually press it again to get root walking return, which should then port you back to wherever you originally used the teleport in the first place. That is a very nice ability to have, just for ease of transporting between two different places. And as you can see, it does teleport you to the exact place that you were before, as opposed to a graveyard nearby or something. So that's the key difference I can find. But if you know anything about route walking versus dream walking, let me know in the comments below. So that just about wraps up everything that we have to see for the new Haranir race coming in midnight. Thank you very much for watching today's video. I very much hope you enjoyed. I am so excited for the Haranir, and as I said, probably going to be race changing my druid so that I can play with those new forms. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please do be sure to give a like to this video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and if you have any questions or advice you'd like to share about Midnight, please leave a comment below. For now though, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you again very soon. Bye!